Hi there. Hi there. I'm going to try to tell a story of differing schools of psychiatry thought, different, the thought processes and what they believe in their philosophies in different schools of psychiatry. Okay, so this goes back and has to do with all of my posts this year where they've been like uh, 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 since January 25th of 2023, anything posted to between then and now, or April 29th, I started to correct the problem, but was brought to my attention that I had become incoherent, but it was from being without nicotine for 40 some days after, during which I showed a medical journal in the one video, the last few videos, date wise, about the chronology, but it's so hard to explain because there's so much detailed information involved. Okay, so in 1998, and then a year or two later, met a psychiatrist who I've stayed with for 20 years, and we looked at this medical journal article and understood, and she researched on her own too, and learned that that's just part of schizophrenia, that you need to use nicotine, and that's why I used to always be so bad on it. But then 13 years ago, I got on the vapor nicotine, and it found it served the same function in the brain because I was already over being a smoker, or that crap does to your lungs, your body, your sinuses. I mean, filled with all that junk. But so I'm been 13 years since I smoked anything so like that. But here's a coffee here. Let me hit it. So okay, so it was established with the one longer term psychiatrist I was with. The nicotine had its medical benefits, and well, that is in my third edition of my first book when that was corrected and put all reconstructed the right way from the previous editions, were like two stories in one. But so that's my book. But what happened in my lifetime, the chronology of it, how about encountering the illness of schizophrenia at the age of 17. But I just turned 65, so well, I shouldn't say that. I just, well, some people just don't give their age, but like mine. But well, I'm smiling now because I know people are going to watch this, and some people are going to be happy that I can be coherent. But that was the whole point of making this video. That some professional friend of mine that we were emailing about a technical problem, and he said finally after a few weeks, whatever it was, 3 or 4 weeks, he said, "Man, what is wrong with you, man? You're becoming more incoherent by the week." He said, "Look at these last emails you sent and see if they make sense to you now." And so I looked at him and I said, "Well, yeah, well, I knew to get to nicotine at that point because I'd been off of it for like what 40 days or something, or 30 days, 40 days, some days. So with no nicotine after 51 years of usage for schizophrenia. So, but it induced incoherence, man. I looked at those emails and texts and messages I've been reviewing this morning, and uh, and, and I said, man, how a lot of the talk to text things that has its own interpretation of what you say, and it's like totally wrong sometimes, way wrong, but which is annoying. Which is as good as it is, it doesn't work. But it seems to change pronouns. Like what would that be? He, she, it, he, she, him, her, they, them, you, yours, or something. I mean, whatever the pronouns are, it seems to change those around in a different way than what you speak. So I don't know about that artificial intelligence, all that shit, but but so where was I about the brain? Okay, I'm watching the time, but so. any of my emails from January 25th of this year, when I stopped using nicotine, that didn't use, deleted it from my daily regime period that day, and just went. So I got off of it, but then when I looked at these emails and stuff that dude pointed out to me, and the messages I went back and looked at from some of those times, and I said, well, now how did anybody make any sense out of me? And using a talk to text it, uh, I'd rather sit at the type computer if it's going to be more perfect than type at the type computer. But that's harder to do sometimes when you're sitting in your quiet place or whatever. And you're just talking to the phone, but then it screws it all up, man. I mean, it just makes my writing even worse. So I don't know which is worse, my cognition or the actual talk to text. The combination of them is like incoherent, man. But so I'm sorry about that. But that's what's been going on though since like anything at all I would have posted. I might have been this way since January 25th of 23 here. Uh, that is the first day without nicotine. But so then in schizophrenia, you need to have the nicotine, and time release patch won't work. As the study said, it had to be non-time released, and an MD told me that the gum form in the gum, the nicotine product Crolax, or form of whatever nicotine is not exactly instantaneous either. It's more of a it would be considered time elapsed in the shorter range, I guess. But anyway, so there was no option until the e-cigarette, and they work fine. And so what else I want to say? So so I had to go back on nicotine to get my cognition back, where I'm normally medicated with a combination of whole things. I'm who I am, and I'm fine. But if I got incoherent there or whatever, seemed that way from that date on till April 29th, I started back on the nicotine, I think, and today's May 7th. That's about a week ago. And then I feel stabilized back on the nicotine now. So I don't care what the school of psychiatry doesn't believe this. You're full of crap because I live it, and I've got the evidence now online here. If you go back and look at the posts that I put on here and the things that I wrote, if you want to assign a master's degree, somebody to look at all that stuff and analyze it for you with a psychological assessment or whatever what was going on, you'll see there's proof of incoherence, and it's from lack of nicotine. It's the only difference. You know, after the time went on, I mean, it got worse, and so I never actually saw that noted in the literature on the studies of nicotine and schizophrenia. That if you go on long enough, you'll become incoherent without the nicotine. Uh, well, that's worth reporting to the person who treats me for that. Why the reason why would be so yeah. So that's what's been going on. So anything weird or out of line, it was the proving the evidence exists now though that what the hell did I just say? The evidence exists now for these non-believers, these doctor deniers that this exists. And who say there's no truth to it at all. That's school of thought, of psychiatric thought. So I disagree with you, and I have every right to. And I have every right to. Did I say that plain enough for you now? The psychiatrist? I mean, uh, you're not all gods over the people you treat. I mean, some of you people might think you are. From where you were born compared to here, you might. Uh, so assume some deityship to yourself. I mean, if people knew the psychiatrist goes on in the psychiatrist's head in their personal life, that we might have a big problem with them, depending where they're from. But so I don't know. Well, I cast doubt on psychiatry. It's not just a person. The American no, the American Psychiatric Association. I never was a fan of theirs publication, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, their version they're in now. But because it was their criteria that always got me locked up, so I had a problem with them. And but I don't dwell on it much now because I'm stabilized and left alone. It's just lonely at the top. Thank you. If you'd like you to let there is no like button. The header is there. I don't know. Well, take care and have a good time.